Hello everybody, it's Leah, founder of Full Circle Eventi and the Ignite Your I Do Virtual Wedding Planning Summit. Thanks again for joining us for the Ignite Your I Do Virtual Wedding Planning, where we're bringing together for the very first time wedding industry innovators to help you plan the wedding of your dreams from the comfort of your own home. We know that most brides don't know where to get the right information to create the wedding of their dreams, and they don't have time to attend bridal show after bridal show to find the right vendors. Or they don't know how to achieve everything they really want, have fun, and enjoy their weddings too. Let's face it, you've never done this before. The internet is chock full of resources and ideas that will leave your head spinning. It's hard to weed through the good, the bad, to pull together the wedding that you really want. That's why we're bringing you 4 free trainings a day over a 3-day weekend, showing you the nuts and bolts, the how-tos, the trade secrets to help you find the perfect vendors, the perfect decor, and the perfect balance between planning and living your real life. This all-intensive 3-day training will culminate each evening in a live Q&A session with these industry experts. We definitely recommend attending each session and the live Q&A so you can get your questions answered. But don't worry if you can't make it every day. We've put together the Ignite Your I Do swag bags so you don't miss a thing. You'll have lifetime access to all the trainings, including the downloadable audios, handouts, videos, and transcriptions, so you can refer back to them as a roadmap when planning your own wedding. Scroll down below this video and you'll see the Add to Cart button. Grab your swag bag today and you get the special in-summit pricing of $197, which is an instant $100 off the regular price. I know you're going to absolutely fall in love with our wedding industry innovators, not just because they're experts in their field or because they've planned million-dollar weddings, but because they're absolutely committed to giving you all the information, keys, and tools that will help you create the wedding day you've always dreamed of having. And since we're about everything digital, we have a $2,500 prize pack to give away. It includes a tablet with free digital wedding planning books and programs hand-selected by our experts, as well as live consultation sessions that will help you during your planning sessions. So head over to fullcircleeventi.com/enter and enter your name and email address and start inviting your friends. You get a point for every friend that you referred to the summit through email and social media. And of course, you get to share this valuable free training with them. So we'll be announcing the winner tonight, actually, during the live Q&A presentation. You do have to be on the call to win. So head over to fullcircleeventi.com/enter and enter for your chance to win. So before I introduce you to Ebony Coston, I want to let you know how you can interact and ask your questions. We've installed a live chat box to the right of this video. Just log in with Twitter, Facebook, Google, or any other social media platform and start commenting and asking your questions. One of our moderators will be here to interact and keep track of your questions so that we can answer them during the live Q&A. We also have a social share, and those are above the video, so I ask you to take a second and like this page. Share it across Facebook, Google+, and Twitter, so we can really grow an amazing community of brides who need help creating the dream weddings that you're looking for. This is the very first virtual wedding planning summit of its kind, and we do have plans to do at least one more this year. So you're going to definitely want to stay connected with us via social media. I've shared the social media links in the chat and also below this video. We will have more free trainings and offerings for you also throughout the course of the year, so you'll definitely want to stay tuned and share it with friends. And now for the main attraction. Ebony Coston is the owner and creative stylist of On Cloud9 Events. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and certified wedding and event planner, the vice president of membership at Event Planners Association, and a member of the community of wedding innovators and rockstar wedding planner. This lady is busy. She has been planning weddings and social events of all kinds for over 10 years. She started planning professionally to meet the needs of couples who needed a wedding planner who would embrace their non-traditional wedding day. Ebony is completely invested, passionate, and committed to making sure that your wedding planning experience is exciting, fun, and stress-free. Ebony has a fresh and relaxed, fun approach to planning and is an expert when it comes to supporting clients and keeping them happy throughout the most stressful part of planning a wedding. Ebony is actually going to talk today about how to create meaningful and exciting day. How to create a meaningful and exciting day for your wedding guests. So let's welcome Ebony. Hi, Ebony.
Hi, how are you?
I am absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad you're able to join us and that you have such a fantastic topic. Just in the brief little section that we had before, I saw some really great stuff, and the brides are going to love it. So with that said, unless you have something else you want to say really quick.
No, just thank you for inviting me to take part of this. This is so awesome.
Wonderful. We're actually, like I said, absolutely delighted to have you. So with that said, let's get right into the meat of this topic, because that's really what we're all here for. How do we create a meaningful and exciting day for our wedding guests? Because, of course, all of us are here as our bride, and we think about it as being our day. That's one of the things that's always put out there. But, in fact, it's just as much a day for your guests and an experience for your guests, and I'm so glad that Ebony is going to talk about this with us. So, Ebony, what trends are you seeing with couples? What are they really looking for their wedding days?
Well, I'm finding that a lot of brides and grooms, they really want to tell their guests their love story. They want to make sure the guests have a good time, that they're comfortable, that they have good food, good music, and good drinks. Mm-hmm. And so I find that a lot of couples, their groom or the bride is meeting the family for the first time. So they only know that they're coming to the wedding, so they've never met either the bride or the groom. So the couple wants to make sure that they can tell their story that day, and they only have that day to kind of tell the family about how they met and what makes them the perfect couple, and just to have fun with them and get to know each other in both sides of the family.
Oh, very, very true. So I think specifically that they seem to be pulling the most of, like, what are couples doing to really create that excitement on their wedding day?
Yeah, I see that they really want to create a formal day. So they want to make it exciting, because who gets to dress up every day and have a great time? So they're really going into more of a formality where they have guests dress up and have a good time, or they're going with a theme where they want guests to dress in all white or all purple to go with their wedding day. I think that's great and fun. Some other things I see them doing is to make it exciting for guests is picking non-traditional venues. The venues, they're not just going to the churches and the synagogues. They're picking beautiful places like art museums and the beach, and they're going to different warehouses and just transforming the spaces so it can be something exciting, a little bit different than wedding guests usually experience on the wedding day.
So what's been your favorite location so far? What have you been introduced to by your client, or what have you been able to introduce to your client to say, hey, this is going to be something phenomenal that you've never seen before, you've never done before. Let's try it out. Let's see how it works, and I think your guests are going to love it.
Well, the groom was a big sports car. He loves sports cars, all different cars. So to go with that theme, he wanted to do maybe just drive in and take pictures next to his favorite cars, or Model Ts and the old cars. And here in California, we have this cool venue, and it's called the Peterson Auto Museum. Well, they have a vault of private cars, and you can take a tour, and they have like Batman's car, all Bonnie and Clyde's car, all the fun and exciting cars from the museum. From the different movies. So he just loved that idea to have it in that non-traditional space and to be able to look at the cars while he's getting married, and the guests could enjoy it too.
Wow, that is amazing. How did that work out exactly? I mean, did they actually do a ceremony in there, or were they able to do the reception in that space?
They actually had the ceremony on the rooftop, so it was a little cleaner, but then they had a funkier type, non-traditional reception with the tables right in the middle of the cars. So they sat like right in the middle, and it was really cool and awesome.
Wow. I'm like, that must have been some major finagling on your part to be able to make that happen.
It was a big feat, but it was well worth it to see the smile on the groom, and the bride was happy because she also loved cars, so they both really enjoyed their day, and guests were amazed by, oh wow, that's Batman's car, a lot of cars that they've seen, a speed racer, and it was phenomenal.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I totally couldn't imagine that going in and seeing that, but I could imagine it being completely just beautiful. So what suggestions are you finding right now that are really just kicking up the guest experience during the cocktail hour, let's say?
The cocktail hour, I'm seeing that is the perfect place to introduce the groom or the bride. I really like, do my slideshow. One moment, let me show you some pictures. So, like I said, the bride and groom today, they really are looking for something that's stylish on their wedding day. They want to tell their love story. They want something unique, and they really want guests to have fun. So these are some of the different non-traditional venues that I've been. Wineries. They've had a plantation, like a mansion house with a beautiful pond and beautiful trees. And then a lot of modern spaces where they just take like a warehouse or something and then just transfer the space into something unique.
Yeah, I'm really jealous that you guys have wineries. We don't have any here in Michigan.
They're awesome. It's really awesome. And that's where it comes in with the pre-ceremonies. At the wineries, it's good to have the guests come and they can enjoy the winery and tour the venue, have wine tastings. It's really fun to set that kind of cocktail hour for the guests, and they can do activities so they're just not standing around and and look and waiting for the wedding day. And it also gives them the time to kind of sit down and enjoy the wedding day and kind of settle down, because I know out here in Southern California you're traveling 1 and sometimes 2 hours or sitting in traffic to get to the wedding. So it's a good time to just have guests relax and be ready for your day.
Love it. Yeah, there's something to be said about doing something non-traditional, and I see that a lot more here in the summer. A lot of couples are thinking about their guests, especially when they're doing outdoor weddings. They're actually then providing drinks for them, so they'll do something that they can drink during the ceremony. That way it's a little bit more relaxed, but they're also keeping them more refreshed too. So I love that concept of introducing things before you actually get to what would be cocktail hour or even the reception. Are there any creative ways that couples can enhance the guest experience during the reception?
For the reception, I really like, let me get to the slide, sorry. Well, I find the couples, they really want to have a lot of fun. This is where they really come from the formal wedding ceremony, and they're really to let loose, change dresses, put on their dancing shoes, and just have a good time. So a lot of trends that I'm seeing to kick up the excitement, they're having a DJ along with a live band, which is great because guests love it. They love to have the live band. I don't know if you can see, this is one of my couples that I had last year at a wedding, and he actually wanted to wear a monkey face.
I can see that. I was starting to wonder about the monkey in the middle of the room, but now that you've explained it.
Be the monkey in the middle and just have a good time, and guests love it. He came in and they were like, well, who is that? And he had glasses on, and it was just something exciting, and guests really had fun. And I think that's a lot I think that couples need to do, is really show their personality. If you're a fun couple and you're very sociable, you need to bring that into your wedding day. Everybody knows him as a jokester, so if he came in straight laced and just walked in, they were like, oh, that's not him. So he did what guests would expect him to do. He came in, he had fun, and they also had fun with him.
Yeah, do you find that a lot of couples, they think, oh, this is a wedding, I need to be serious about everything that's going on?
And I do, and I found that they feel that, but they're feeling the pressure from family and friends. It's your wedding day. They have their mom that used to have weddings back in the 1970s and the 80s, and this is the way you've done weddings, and that's not really what they want to do. So they really love it when I work with couples and they're like, well, I'm like, well, what's your personality? What do you like to do? What do you like to have fun? What's your hobbies? I try to really get to know them personally on one-on-one basis, and let's bring that out. Let's show that to guests. I had one groom that he loved Spider-Man. He loved all the movies. He was really that comic-con type guy to love all the comics. So we brought in a Spider-Man and a Mary Jane cake topper to make it fun, and we had green lighting, and the overlays looked like webs, and it was really fun, and guests enjoyed it and had a good time.
Wow, green's not a color you usually pull out, so that must have been quite an interesting experience.
It was, and it was something different, and guests are looking for different because a lot of the couples, they're around the same age. They're between, I think the average couple now is between 27 and 30 or 29 for grooms, and they're going to multiple weddings all year long. So a lot of couples, they're really looking for something different, and how can we not look like our friends and the friends before us wedding? So they're looking for those special details to just differentiate their wedding and really stand out and be unique.
Yeah, very much so. I definitely see that a lot of couples, and this goes across many industries because they are, or very different. When I say industries, I'm talking about the different cultural industries that we have, because I know I specifically work with a lot of Indian and Persian brides, and they tend to be going to 4 to 5 weddings every 5 weeks. They can end up attending something like 15 weddings in a year, or they have that many invitations. They may not actually be able to attend all of them. But yeah, trying to really differentiate your wedding from somebody else is kind of a challenge. So how do you usually approach that?
I try to get to know the couple on a personal level, and I also like to ask them questions like, well, what's your favorite song? What was the song and how you met? And so, they may be like, well, my mom really is paying for the wedding, so I need to have a formal wedding. So I was like, well, I had one couple, they really loved, their song was a Jill Scott song, You Love Me, which was like an opera song. So I was like, well, why not have it and have a harpist actually play that song? But it'll still look formal and beautiful, just like your mom would want, but it's special because the song. She was able to transform the song into something just very beautiful and phenomenal and very romantic. So I try to tell them that. So just use your song. You need to choose your music.
It's almost like setting a soundtrack for your wedding.
Yes, absolutely. And then, usually, well, I don't know, what's the wedding march? And I'm like, no, do more than a wedding march. I really say, use the soundtrack. There's ways to use all kind of music during the day to play during the ceremony or during cocktail hour or the cocktail hour. And your guests know you because a lot of my couples, they're young, and like I said, they're very sociable. So their friends really know who they are. And so if they played something a little boring or something, they wouldn't know. And they're like, well, that's so not them, It kind of looks like it was staged to do something else. But when they can infuse their personality into the ceremony, I think guests just have an amazing time, and it just makes it more meaningful for them.
Definitely. And, there is something about, there's a balancing line between being, having like a nice, elegant wedding, but then also infusing it with your personality. And sometimes it goes a little too far into your personality and you lose that level of elegance. So if someone is trying to do this on their own, say they're not going to work with a professional to help them pull out elements and details, what advice would you give to them, or what steps could they take if you were to give them maybe 5 steps to work on that would really help them pull the details that they want but not go overboard with it?
Well, first I would tell them to really look at their style. Just kind of discuss what sort of experience they want to provide for guests. Do they want it to be, do they want to have I find that a lot of couples want that mixture of formal but then the fun party afterward. Or what do they want to show? What do they want to tell about their love story? Like I said, just try to, while not going overboard, you can use music. You can tell your story. Like, I love the little programs that they do where it kind of tells the love story, and it tells about the bridal party and why did you pick this person, or what connects you to the person in your bridal party. I think that's really fun. But just sit down and just think about and reflect. Why did you pick your bridal party? Why did you pick that venue? And then just try to pick out those little details to what's going to make the most impact on your guests, what's going to be different than what wedding you ever been to before, and what's going to be the most fun for guests.
Nice. So do you find that couples are now starting to look at more entertainment aspects, like in addition to having a DJ and or having a band? Because actually that's even new trend. It used to be DJ or band, not DJ and band, which is a nice little change of pace because you've got the DJ who can cover the music when you don't want to be doing something, but you have, you know, the rest of the music there for the rest of the time. Do you find that they're pulling in more entertainment acts, so to speak?
Absolutely. I know I see a lot of that's happening here in Southern California is they're just making it a different and fun atmosphere by having like strolling tables. They have either strolling cocktail tables or strolling dessert tables, and it has different characters. It's really, really cute, and it's fun, and it's guests enjoy that. I also see where one of the companies, they come in, they bring actual characters on stilts, and it's like almost like a formal carnival, and the ladies are dressed formal and sparkly and like a Vegas show, but they're actually having a good time and getting guests on the dance floor and just really interacting with the guests. So a lot of the weddings, they're like 200 and 300 guests, and so they're bringing in this entertainment to keep the guests all entertained at the same time. It's phenomenal. I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, we spoke about the cool spaces that you've worked in and some of the cool different elements that they've been bringing in. Obviously, the strolling tables have become very popular over the past couple of years. I know we actually did it a few years back for one of our clients here as well, and absolutely loved it. The guests were they were dumbfounded by it. They didn't know what to expect. They'd never seen it here because it was, you know, within the first couple of years that it had actually been brought to our area, which here in the Midwest, we get everything late, but we get it, you know, so we're happy to have it. But yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic idea and definitely something they can do. So when it comes to thinking about their guest experience, what should they be thinking about? How should they be thinking about their guest experience?
Yeah, like I said, number one, I want them to actually take care and reflect on what sort of experience do they want to provide for guests. Like I said, do you want it more formal? Do you want to have fun? And how can you make the most impact and make it fun for guests? Do you want to do surprises? Like I said, do tours, keep them entertained, and show them experience something, maybe food, introduce them to foods or beverages that they've never had before. Come up with a fun signature cocktail and give it a fun name. Another thing I always tell them, show your personality. Tell your story using the details and the decor, using music and food. A lot of couples, food trucks are still hot out here. They love to, you know, after the party's over, there's an In-N-Out burger truck, or they're having cookies and milk. It's just totally fun to have that different detail that other weddings would have, and it makes for a fun guest experience for the guests. I also tell couples to make sure they spend time and create a detailed timeline. And how will they transition? How are you going to make that transition from the ceremony to while you're taking pictures, what's happening with guests and then during cocktail hour, and then going into the reception and the meal, and a lot of popular things that are happening is the after party. What are you going to do that whole day? And I always tell them to focus on building the energy for the day. Think about, start out slow. You want the ceremony maybe slow and romantic, and then build into the cocktail hour. That's a little bit more exciting, and then the reception, and then just really hit it when it comes to dancing and all the other activities, and build up that energy so guests are like, woo, that was the best party ever. So I like to have them do that. Always suggest try to have like something new, because it's horrible when you have a boring wedding. If we've all kind of been to weddings where you're like on your cell phone, or you're like, oh, when can they cut the cake so I can leave? So I always tell couples to try to keep it. I want them to keep it sweet, sweethearts, but you don't want to overwhelm them with a lot of activities. I know that, couples are on, you can see the YouTubes and the Pinterest, and they have all these fabulous ideas, and I see a lot of brides wanting to fit all these ideas, like 1,000,000 ideas or 100 ideas into the wedding day. So
Yeah.
I'll suggest for them to keep it simple. You don't want to overwhelm guests, but you don't want them to be bored either. So try to schedule the activities, maybe one surprise every 30 to 45 minutes. Change up your schedule when you do your dance. Your first dance is man and wife, and then maybe have the guest dance, and then go into another activity and have guest dance again, just to switch it up so you don't have guests just sitting there and, like I said, ready to go.
That's actually really great advice. Keeping the flow of the day is just as important as creating a checklist or any other thing that you do, is thinking about the flow of your day, because I feel like that really does make a difference for your guests. Your guests feel more appreciated. They feel as though that you're really thinking about them and you're taking care of them. Would you agree? I mean, what's the whole point of even thinking about your guests? Isn't it supposed to be the bride's day? Isn't it all about her?
Well, I say, my thought is, it could be about you, and it could be just about you and him at the courthouse. But you're throwing this fabulous party, you're putting all this money into this fabulous party and this fabulous day and the dress, and you're inviting all these people. And I find that couples, they really have a hard time of who I should guess, or how can I get all my friends there. So they're really, I see that a bride and a groom are really thinking about, how can I impress my guests? Because otherwise, like I said, they could go to the courthouse and it could still be a beautiful day and about him and her. But they really bring in the guests because they want to give them experience. Like I said, open them up to their world and their love story, and just really want to show them a good time.
Very true. I never thought about it that way. It could be about you. Just go to the courthouse. But if you're inviting all these amazing people to be a part of your day, to help support you on your journey and becoming a couple, and also just beginning to grow yourselves as individuals. So yeah, make sure you're taking care of them, and definitely you want to do that in ways that are going to totally impress them. Do you find that little details, because you were talking about Pinterest and how all of these ideas come up on Pinterest, do you find that little details like place cards or menu cards or court cards, whatever you guys want to call them, because everyone wants to call them something different, the way in which the table is set, whether you're set with 10 people or 8 people, do you feel like that makes a difference in the guest experience?
Absolutely. Especially when you said having 8 or 10 people, you want to make sure that guests are comfortable at the table, and you always want to create a wow factor. Like the place cards, they have the cutest things on Pinterest or anywhere of the ideas where you can make different place cards. You can have them laser cut. You can do them from mirror or glass. I think you got to have some eye candy for the guests, and I think that's a lot of creating a guest experience, to have that eye candy of the oohs and the ahs, the flowers, and the place cards were cute, or the wedding favors were cute, and the centerpiece and the way we sat. No longer, I'm seeing a lot of long rectangular tables. You don't have to do the formal round tables, or they're having the serpentine tables for the guests. Or I love that they're having a real social, and they're having like sofas and tables all included in the reception, just to change the guest experience if it's more comfortable or more formal. I love that.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that where they're starting to incorporate the benches, like couches, in with traditional chairs. And I've definitely seen a trend running closer to having more of the rectangular tables than we ever have in the past. It's always been, the round tables, and that's what you pretty much expected when you came to a venue for a wedding. But a lot of guests are now seeing that they're sitting in squares, in rectangles. The serpentine I haven't seen before, so that would be new for me. But definitely, I definitely see that. And it does change the experience, because you are taking it out of this round, what was a round table, which of course was a good idea, it was a great idea. But sometimes it gives it a different feeling for the room, would you say, when you change the table shape?
Oh, absolutely. It creates a whole different dynamic. It's like, I don't know if you have, but we have a restaurant out here called Benihana's, and it's like a cook will cook on your table, and it just kind of puts you with different couples.
Yep.
And I like it because usually you want to sit with, oh, I'm going to sit with the whole family. So changing that tablescape, it allows the guests to sit with other guests and get to know them, and keeps the flow of the conversation around the table and just not the same people that you hang out with all the time. It makes it for a very interesting experience for the guest.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you really want to do for your guests too, is you want to make it so that they feel comfortable talking to the other people that are there, because a lot of times it is going to be members of the family that they've never met before, or members of the opposite side of the family that they're never even going to see again. But the more you can introduce them to each other and make it such an easy way to do it, I feel like you are really elevating the guest experience.
Absolutely. And I always say that laughter connects people, and it keeps the guest engaged. So I always try to always see that guest grooms and brides like to do games, or just to do they have like little cards where they have to talk about their love story. Maybe they exposed the guests to their love story, and they kind of quiz them on, and what do you remember about what the bride's and the groom's first date, or when did they get engaged? And so when couples or when guests get to laugh with each other and really socialize with each other and focus on the bride and know a lot about the bride and the groom, I think that creates and keeps guests engaged, and it also connects them, and they have a good time. It's something different than just sitting at the reception, having dinner, and then dancing. It takes the reception and the guest experience to a totally different level.
Awesome. So here's a little bit of an odd question, but I feel like it's one that definitely plays into the guest experience. When it comes to speeches or toasts, what kind of advice do you give if there's any bridesmaids watching with us, or brides who want to give advice to their maid of honor, matron of honor, or best men? What kind of advice do you think that they need to have to make the guest experience good in listening to speeches?
Well, I've been to quite a few weddings where the speeches can get quite lengthy. So
Yeah.
I always tell them to admonish them to try to keep it to 5 minutes or less. Tell a funny story, tell something personal that you may know, but don't embarrass them. All the stories aren't meant to be told, but just tell something fun about the bride or the groom, and keep it short and sweet. I always tell the bride to have them maybe write it out and practice it if they want, just to keep it short and sweet, and to practice, and not to embarrass. And I try to get the speeches out during the first part of the reception, so none of the guests that are speaking are a little tipsy while they're having. Then they tend to ramble on and say stuff that may embarrass the bride or groom. But just to keep it short and sweet, I think that's the best, in under 5 minutes.
That's good advice. Yeah, we had recently we were talking to another planner, and they were mentioning that they were coming up with new ideas on how to approach them, and one of those was making actual questions that they had to answer for their session. So that the bridesmaid would have to tell a story based on the question that was asked, or because not everybody knows the stories necessarily that are being told, but if it's something that they can relate to. So if it's a story about how the bride and groom, or how the bride and the maid of honor were in college together and they went to whatever parties and something like that, but the point is that there's an actual storyline that people can follow versus just being a random story.
Absolutely. I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I thought I'd reiterate it in case anybody missed it, because I thought that was a really good one.
Yeah, and I always try to give them advice, like you said, give them something to focus on, maybe talk about your college years, or maybe when she had her first date with him, what was her reaction when she came home or called you or told you about the first date. Just something like that that's memorable, that maybe a lot of the guests haven't heard, or maybe even the groom hasn't heard, or the bride hasn't heard. What was their first thoughts about them and their first date, and when they proposed, what some of those ideas and conversations are always fun.
Nice. We've talked a lot about the various things that you can do to incorporate, and most of them have been about the reception itself. I know we talked just a smidge about the cocktail hour as well, and just a little bit about the ceremony, but I wanted to go back to the ceremony again. Are there any other details that they can incorporate into the ceremony that really engage the guests and really keep them involved in their wedding?
Well, infuse and make something different for the guests to experience. We have a lot of multicultural weddings out here in California. So I always tell them to bring in their cultural and traditional ceremonies that they have. We do a lot of unity candles, jumping the broom, just a lot of the different traditional ceremonies, tea ceremonies. Just bring those in and maybe even explain it to the guests why you're doing this or where does it come from, or explain, because a lot of guests, they don't, like I said, they're meeting the bride or the groom for the first time. So this is just another way to enhance their experience, and it's something really meaningful because they're taking a part of what your family believes or a tradition in your family.
So again, this is this is where programs come in, and this is the importance of a program, is it really can help explain what's going on, but also it can really be an engaging element to really tell the story behind what's going to happen throughout the ceremony itself, and also perhaps what happened before the ceremony.
Absolutely, it's really good. I love programs. I see that guests really love the programs, especially when they get to take that peek and, like you said, explain. It's just not listening to bride and the bridal party. You can do so much with the program to give guests that peek into who you are and explain, like I said, the different cultural traditions that may happen during the ceremony. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to talk about traditional garments. I see a lot of brides, they're doing multiple garment changes. Maybe they start with a traditional or a cultural garment, especially in African weddings. They'll start with their traditional African garb, and then they'll change into a wedding dress, and then another dress for the reception. So I really think that's fun when you get to see their traditional and cultural garments in the ceremony.
Oh, most definitely. That's my favorite part of the ceremony, period. I think it's the influence from my mother, being the wardrobe person that she always was for all of my costuming things that I had to do in high school through college, that she was always there, creating costumes for us. So I feel like I'm always have to be the costumer. I'm always there looking at the wardrobe that the bride has on. And I actually just recently had a groom who had fashion as fabulous as the bride.
Oh, yes. The grooms are really kicking it up. I love it that they want to be just as fashionable and look at me as the bride. I don't see a lot of it's all about the bride. The groom wants it about him too. So he's really kicking. I see grooms really kicking it up and really having changes. They may start out with white with the ceremony, and they actually change into suits or tuxedos for the reception too. So I love that, because if it wasn't for the groom, there wouldn't be any bride. So I think he needs a little bit of attention too in everything.
Definitely. And I definitely see that as being a huge trend recently, that the guys, not necessarily that they have to be more involved in the entire planning aspect of it, although I've had couples where I've dealt with the groom more than I've dealt with the bride. I've actually, I think, had 3 of those in the past couple of years. But I definitely do see that the guys are not taking the day itself so lightly. It isn't just show me when to show up, tell me what I have to wear, and I'll be there. They really want to think about what statements they're making with their fashion, what statements they're making to their guests, and they're really trying to tell them how much they appreciate them as well by being a part of things as opposed to just being absent.
Absolutely. I find that too with a lot of the last couple of weddings that I've been involved with couples. The groom is really, not in all aspects of the planning, that's a bride, but he's really into the part of the reception, the music, the food, what will happen to guests at this point of the ceremony or at this point of the day. They're really involved with what's going to happen with their guests, and I just love that part about them, because some grooms have really super ideas about their wedding day. It's not just the bride that been dreaming about her wedding day, and maybe the groom hasn't been dreaming about his wedding day, but they most definitely have ideas of what they would want on their wedding day, because they have to watch the shows with their fiance. You're like, oh, that's kind of cool. So they were like, oh, they even tell me, oh, I saw this on David Tutura and I thought this was cool. And so, they definitely have their ideas about what should happen on the wedding day.
Definitely. I definitely see that happening. And it is very much a changing thing. So for you who think that your guys aren't involved, they could be, just not in the way that you think so. They might actually be doing something slightly different, and it's in their head, and they're going to let you know what they're thinking in the long run. But, they want to still play cool like guys.
Yes, they do, and it's hard. You have to kind of draw them out. I always have the grooms like, well, what would you want for your wedding day? And they was like, oh, whatever she wants. And then the bride will start, well, I want this, and they're like, well, and I was like, I knew you had some ideas about the wedding day. You just kind of got to coax them into it to draw them out to get those ideas. But once you get them going, they're awesome. The groom's awesome.
Awesome. So if we had a quick checklist of the things that we need to make sure that we have involved in our wedding to really kick up the guest experience, what would be a quick checklist, maybe of those things that we might want to have? What would you, I know I'm kind of throwing this one at you, but what would you say, hey, if you're going to make sure that you're giving your guests the best experience, these are the elements that I feel are most vital to make sure that you're incorporating?
One out here, one I can stress, out here in Southern California, a lot of brides and grooms, they have outdoor weddings. So I would always stress to make sure your guests are comfortable. If you're having it at a beach, we have a lot of beach weddings, like in the sand. So you need to tell your guests that you're having a wedding in the sand, because stilettos and sand don't mix.
No way.
I tell them, you want to have it in the summer. It's really beautiful weather out here, but the sun, you want to make sure that they're protected from the sun. Make sure you have, I always tell them to have a spa water for them, something with cucumbers or strawberries to keep them refreshed while they're having the outdoor wedding, and make sure they have shade, like we have the umbrellas, or we do tenting when we think about having outdoor weddings. So just to make sure that guests are comfortable, that's all a part of the guest experience. You must have good food and a good cake. I always talk to guests at the weddings, and they're like, oh, this is the best food ever, or this, I'm afraid to taste the cake, because the last wedding I went to, the cake was kind of horrible. So you just really want to make sure you do those tastings and make sure that the food is good and that your cake is great, and because guests, that's part of their experience. So you want to make sure you know what they're tasting, what they're drinking, what they're seeing, and what they're feeling.
Nice. I'm going to jump in on the cake thing, ladies and gentlemen, because I know the guys love to be in on the cake tasting. This is the one area that you are guaranteed that you need to trust your wedding planner on, that she's going to take you to the right place to get cake, because if anybody has tasted cake, it is a wedding planner. And when I go to a wedding, I can take one bite of a cake and be done with it. Now, as a guest, I used to not be able to do that. As a wedding planner, I can take one bite out of a cake and be done with it. If it's not good, you don't want it. So trust your wedding planner. She's definitely going to know if it's good or bad cake. And she also is going to know who to take you to get it, to make sure it's going to still be fresh. Because there's things that you don't know about that happen behind the scenes that you definitely do not want to have happen to your cake. One of those being frozen. That's a really, really bad thing.
Oh, yes. Or melting.
Oh, and in the hot sun, you don't have a choice sometimes. It does happen, but you definitely want to make sure that you're keeping these things in mind. There's so many little things to keep in mind. So having a wedding planner like you, Ebony, probably comes really in handy for a lot of your clients who realize that, yeah, there is so much that they want, and not, let alone what they want from themselves, but then making sure that they get those things for their guest. You can't do both. You can't play, the outfield and the infield at the same time. You can only be in one location. So, Ebony, I think you're definitely a huge value to your guests, to the guest experience for your clients, if not for the clients alone.
Absolutely. I think hiring a planner, even if you're just going for a consultation to get some ideas or how to handle the day, is most definitely important because, like you said, there's so many details and so much going on behind the scenes. It's more than just, oh, we show up and we put some flowers on the table or the cake's there. It's just so much that goes on beyond the scenes. And that day for a bride and groom is like a big step in their life, and you just don't realize the emotions that you're going to go through on that day. You may be okay, during the planning and like, oh yeah, sure, I can do this or decorate or do this and that. But on that day, the nerves that you have, you're just taking that big step, and you're kind of stunned and probably walking in a daze. So that's not the time that you're trying to decorate your wedding or worry about guests. So I always tell couples, even if you meet with the wedding planner for a couple of hours or a coordinator, just do that so you can have a peace of mind and know what's going into your wedding day. Especially if you're really looking to create a phenomenal guest experience and you're having all these details, you're not going to want to have to worry about that on your wedding day.
Yeah, definitely not. And I'm so glad that we have your free offer, your free gift to our clients, our viewers. That is all available for you guys. Every single one of the free offers from our speakers are all listed on the website at fullcircleeventi /wedding offers. I'm sorry, I don't think it's wedding offers. I think it's partners gifts. There it is. So it's fullcircleeventi /partners-gifts. So that you guys can all get those. And Ebony has actually created for you guys the 25 creative ideas to mesmerize your wedding guest. So you guys can go over there, and there's the link right to her blog site so that you can actually grab that for yourself. So Ebony, I hope you can, you're going to pop back on here for us really quick so we can see you. Oh, she's actually had that right on there for her, so I didn't even notice. Yep, there you go.
Okay.
You should be back. There she is. So, Ebony, again, thank you so much for being a part of this project and helping out brides with fantastic ideas of how to create a wonderful guest experience for anybody who attends their wedding, let alone themselves, because it is a guest. They should be a guest at their own wedding as well, and that's where you come in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you. All right, well, guys, we're going to sign off. As I said before, you have the opportunity to go ahead and enter for our value pack prizes, the $2,500 or sorry, the $2,500 worth of prize packages. You can go over to fullcircleeventi /enter. And then you can also head back over to the link that you got in your emails when you confirmed your subscription to go and get any of the free gifts from our speakers for the week. So guys, we'll see you again later tonight when we announce our winner. So have a great night. Bye.